What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And as always, if you like the video, like the video. But I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on what I talk about in this video, because it's definitely a hot topic, a controversial topic in the Ravens community right now. And I'm really going to analyze why I think that the edge rusher position is a much bigger need, and it is what the Ravens should be targeting this offseason and in the draft, rather than wide receivers. Now, I'm not saying don't focus on wide receiver at all. Obviously, wide receiver is still a hole, but have that be your second priority. Edge rusher is the main priority, in my opinion, but that's my opinion. Let me know if you disagree or agree. And it's something that, I've brought it up in videos and why, I want them to go after this guy, whether it's Clowney or they should draft Gregory Rousseau, that type of stuff. Well, that's because of, this kind of philosophy that I have. And I've talked about it a little bit. I talked about it probably the most I've talked about it was in my How the Ravens Can Beat the Kansas City Chiefs video. But I've gotten a lot of comments about it, about different things and different strategies. And I just was like, okay, rather than commenting back on everybody's comments about my philosophy, I'll just make a video about it. So sorry for the long intro, a little bit of a ramble, but why the Ravens need the edge rusher position. And I'm going to start off with edge rusher, then I'll get into wide receiver and why edge rusher is more important. But okay, the Ravens don't have an edge rusher. That's the issue. They have Jalen Ferguson, they have Pernell McPhee, and they have Tyus Bowser. Tyus Bowser and Jalen Ferguson are not edge rushers, at all. Pernell McPhee is technically an edge rusher, but not an edge rusher that you can play every down. He's a backup. He's a role player on the defense, not somebody that would be okay, yeah, he's our edge rusher. He's just a veteran there for experience and substitutions on different downs. But Tyus Bowser is a versatile outside linebacker, and Jalen Ferguson is a versatile outside linebacker for run stuffing. But overall, neither of them are developed edge rushers that the Ravens can focus on. And why the edge rusher position is so important, because I've gotten different comments over different videos about things like the Ravens are a coverage sack kind of defense. That's a bad thing. You don't want to be a coverage sack defense. Getting coverage sacks is good. Don't get me wrong. Every time the Ravens get a coverage sack, I'm darn it, we shouldn't have gotten that. No, a coverage sack is a great thing. But being called a coverage sack defense is almost, it's like an insult. Because what that means is that the Ravens literally cannot generate a pass rush. A coverage sack is when you don't blitz or anything like that. You have your 4-man pass rush and you're playing coverage, and after about 4 to 5 seconds, you're able to get that pressure and you get that sack. Yeah, that's great. You get the sack. But you have to rely on your cornerbacks and safeties and linebackers to play phenomenal coverage, to not allow anybody to be open. And in the NFL, that's I don't care how good your team is. Stephon Gilmore, when he won the Defensive Player of the Year, he got cooked by John Brown. No player is just going to lock down every play. It's just very unrealistic. Now, also the Ravens blitz a lot, but in terms of the coverage sack thing, you can't just rely on that. You're playing heavy man coverage, and being able to stick with different wide receivers, it's just so difficult. Also, whenever there's some sort of injury in the secondary and you put in a backup that isn't very good, it just makes it that much worse. Look at the Cleveland Browns game when the Browns just literally destroyed the defense after, I believe, Jimmy Smith or Marcus Peters went down. I can't remember which one. Maybe it was both. And they just, Baker Mayfield threw the same guy every time because he was open, because the Ravens play so much man coverage. And there's nothing wrong with man coverage. Don't get me wrong. The problem is they're playing man coverage without a pass rush. And they're relying on this coverage sack defense. Once again, that's not a good thing. Now, the Ravens do have Wink Martindale. What does Wink Martindale do? He blitzes. That's how he gets his sacks. That's fine. Being able to blitz and get sacks, boom, that works. Look at the Ravens defense. It's been very good without an edge rusher, really, that can generate pressure on his own. But it only works against bad football teams. You look at when the Ravens have to play the top tier teams and the quarterbacks that they have to go against, you can't just beat them by blitzing or getting coverage sacks, because that's not how it works. Let's look at the Chiefs, for example. Chiefs obviously went to the Super Bowl this year, and what happened in that Super Bowl? Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh, they destroyed Patrick Mahomes. They didn't need to blitz. They would snap that ball, Shaq Barrett off the edge, boom, beats that right tackle, gets in on Patrick Mahomes, hits him, boom, sack. See the difference between that and going snap? Okay, Marcus Peters, you got to cover Tyreek Hill for about 3 to 5 seconds. Marlon Humphrey, you got Mecole Hardman. Jimmy Smith, why don't you cover Sammy Watkins? Patrick Queen, you have Travis Kelce. And, let's see, Malik Harrison, you've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, all of you cover for 5 seconds while we hope that one of our lesser pass rushers is able to get a sack. In man coverage, by the way. That's unrealistic. It's unrealistic, and it doesn't work. Because covering Tyreek Hill for that amount of time, covering Mecole Hardman, covering Sammy Watkins, it's very difficult. And obviously, Sammy Watkins isn't in Kansas City anymore. I'm just using their last year's team as an example. You can't cover all of those guys. Like, the ability to, like, maybe it'll happen once. Maybe once. But then, obviously, you got Patrick Mahomes, and he can just avoid a sack or something like that. And, oh, no, that one time where you covered him, now it's like you have to cover him for 10 seconds. Not happening. You're not covering Tyreek Hill for 10 seconds. I don't think anybody in the world could cover Tyreek Hill for 10 seconds. So, then the Ravens go and they're like, okay, we're not really generating this pass rush by going, okay, let's just go 4-man pass rush, man coverage. They're like, okay, it's not working. Why don't we blitz? And it's like, okay, boom. That should work, right? And it works against almost every team. That's what the Ravens do. Except against the Chiefs. It doesn't work. And why does it not work is because the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not trying to worship Patrick Mahomes, but he's a very smart quarterback. And it happened last year. The Ravens blitzed. Okay. I believe they ran cover 0. They sent everybody except for the people in man coverage. Patrick Mahomes recognized that it's a blitz. He knows the Ravens blitz a lot. He snaps that ball, he catches it, and he backpedals. He literally just backpedals the entire snap. Like, just gets the ball, backpedal, takes about 4 or 5 backpedals, then launches it. Touchdown, Mecole Hardman. Why does that work? We can't cover Mecole Hardman. He's too fast. So if you put in man coverage, and Patrick Mahomes backs up, the blitz still can't get there, and you reduce your secondary, so you can't have somebody over the top. So that's the issue with relying on coverage sacks, is that against certain teams, you can't get them at a consistent rate, and you can't blitz and generate sacks. So having somebody like a Shaquille Barrett who is able to, they drop into coverage, and then Shaquille Barrett goes, boom, Patrick Mahomes, you're tackled in 2 seconds. Boom, there's nothing you can do. Boom, done. Jason Pierre-Paul comes off the edge. Like, they weren't blitzing, and they were able to get sacks. And that's how you're able to stop them. That's how you had to stop Tom Brady when he was, playing back in New England. That's how the Denver Broncos did. They didn't blitz. They had Von Miller, and they had DeMarcus Ware and things like that. They were able to come off the edge, and they were able to hit him. So it's very different, okay? You need to have that pressure to be able to get those sacks. And if you don't have an edge rusher and you rely on blitzing, the great quarterbacks are going to be able to take advantage of that blitz. And when they have superstar wide receivers, it's game over. And the same thing with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. Like, it's just very difficult to cover those guys. So relying on, blitzing and things like that, it's unreliable. And so having an edge rusher is important. And I'm not here, this isn't a video to tell you which edge rusher to go after. There's plenty of guys. Dunlap, Clowney, Houston, Kerrigan, Griffin. I think those are kind of the main guys. Whatever, go after any. This isn't a video analyzing those players, but that's why we need the edge rusher position. That's why it's so important, is because generating a 4-man pass rush is something the Ravens haven't had since Terrell Suggs, and that's why their defense has struggled in those big-time games against those top-tier teams. So now on to the wide receivers as to why it's less important. Well, the Ravens have wide receivers. It's not like the problem where we literally don't have an edge rusher. We have wide receivers. Lamar Jackson won an MVP. He threw 36 touchdown passes with these wide receivers / tight ends. That's not the issue, okay? It's not. The problem is that, we don't have anybody. The problem is that the scheme and Greg Roman. Like that's the issue. If Greg Roman is gone, we're fine. The wide receivers would ball out. And I'm not saying not to address it. Draft a second-round wide receiver. That's fine. Draft a third-round wide receiver. Trade for a wide receiver. That's okay. I'm not saying not to do those things. But I'm saying you need to prioritize the edge rushers, because Hollywood Brown is a very talented wide receiver, okay? very talented, very skilled. Problem is he's not given a chance to succeed. And I think a lot of Ravens fans have seen the Kurt Warner video where it's like Tyreek Hill runs like a double move and he'll destroy the cornerback. But then Greg Roman's stupid scheme will have Mark Andrews running some streak down the right sideline that runs right next to Hollywood Brown. So it doesn't work. Like, the concepts are basically, if you beat your guy, there's a second guy there because two routes are like always in the same spot, which makes no sense. It's a horrible scheme passing wise. So that's the issue. If they just had better play design in the passing game, their wide receivers would be fine. Like, I'm not saying they would be the Chiefs wide receiver core. They don't need to be. They need to be an average wide receiver core. Like, they don't have to be great. Like, the edge rushers have to be really good. Like, that's a guarantee. But the wide receivers don't have to be amazing. The Ravens won 14-2 with the bad wide receivers, but because they caught everybody off guard, they were able to succeed. Just let the Ravens have a better passing scheme, whether that's firing Greg Roman and I know a lot of Ravens fans are on board with that, or just allowing, Keith Williams or T. Martin to do what they do. And I think that will happen this year. I think the play designs will be a little bit better. So that's why I'm not as in on going all out on wide receivers, because the edge rusher position is like a blatant hole, whereas the wide receiver core can work with what we have. And I guarantee, like, the Ravens will draft a wide receiver. I don't know what round it'll be in. Probably a day 2 wide receiver. I think they'll draft one. Like, they can sub in and they can be a, oh wow, look, here's our wide receiver 3. Boom. And that's what would work. Like, you have a good slot wide receiver in Duvernay. You've got a good outside wide receiver in Hollywood Brown. All you need is that big-bodied wide receiver. And Boykin could step into that. Not taking it away. Like, he could. I don't think he will, but he could. And you have Mark Andrews. Like, they still have a decent passing game. It's just the scheme that they need to fix. So that's why the edge rusher position is more of a glaring need. I don't know the word. Whatever that word is, need for the Ravens, because edge rushers more important to them right now because they don't have any, and wide receivers, they at least have some. The problem is not the players, it's the scheme. But those are my opinions. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And as always, hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again next time.